Hi, you are watching SightsIn and this is Romesh Jivas. Please to subscribe the channel for the HR news, for HR updates, and conversation with the top on CHRs, thought leaders, and business heads. Today, we are going to discuss the talent acquisition trends for 2025. And joining us, Mr. Sahil Nayar, renowned HR thought leader, and Ms. Janani Prakaash, she is head people and culture at Genzeon. So, welcome both of you to SightsIn Plus. And very first, I would like to know your opening comment on this. How do you see, how do you anticipate the talent acquisition trends for 2025?
Thank you, Romesh, for having me here. Once again, it's a pleasure to be part of SightsIn Plus and alongside Sahil as well. I think we both are doing it for the second or third time here or elsewhere too. So it's like a bunch of friends coming together. When I'm thinking about the talent acquisition trends of 2025, what's coming on top of my mind is really the skill evolution that's happening very rapidly, and therefore, traditional hiring is almost shifting completely to skill-based hiring. The 24 itself has actually witnessed it, but it's just going to increase much more in 25, especially because of the combination skills or new varieties of skills and the dearth of talent for specific skills that are required. And of course, it's a candidate market when it comes to these varieties of skills, right? So that's number one. Number two, if you look at it, there is a heightened awareness about upskilling in organizations because somewhere I think during COVID, it all got lost about culture too, right? So companies are thinking that internal talent is better upskilled, reskilled, and then redeployed in new projects than hiring a fresh completely from outside. It not only makes financial sense, but it also makes cultural sense. So the internal marketplace powered by upskilling programs is a huge retention tool as well as it's an attraction tool. So that's like the second talent acquisition trend that I'm seeing because internal marketplace itself is booming to become bigger. This past year, I was looking at a LinkedIn report. It was saying 15% has been like all the internal hiring plus upskilling becoming an attractor and retainer. Another report that I saw is about 70% of the people stick to organizations because they have good upskilling, reskilling programs. So that's the second. The third is tailoring it back to culture as an important aspect is employee referral. Again, this was one area where the market was not focusing as much in the last few years, but this is again booming back quite a bit because organizations want retention of talent once people join. Second, first of all, they need to join. We have all seen enough ghosting happening in the last minute. People who are referred tend to join companies, and when they tend to join, they also tend to stay because they have come through other people that they trust. And therefore, there are multiple trust elements that are established. So, accelerating employee referrals and boomerangs, like getting back people, talking about a refreshed view of the organization, because all organizations, as we speak, are going through a lot of transformation. So, boomerang hiring is also taking a new shape. While it's not new, it's taking a new shape because we are going and talking about the employer value proposition very differently to people again to say, hey, we are now changed. Come join us again. So you experience us differently. Lastly, I will just leave with this and then maybe I'll hand this over to Sahil is hybrid working. Now, hybrid working has been a topic that's been spoken a lot in the last few years. But right now, most companies are asking people to come back. And a lot of people continue to have needs for flexibility. So just stating about hybrid working in job descriptions and or flexible work options in job descriptions is showing the sheer amount of flexible mindset the organization possesses. And that is extremely important to attract talent. And I see it as a very important aspect for the coming year. Also, if we're going to attract global talent, sitting in one place and having people working from remote locations, I think it's very important. So I'll pause here, Ramesh.
So very beautifully, I think, Janani, you have highlighted 4, 5 points. That is the skill-based hiring. That is the one. Second, you have also focused on the culture. So that's why the employee referrals. That may be also the important. Second, internal mobilization. So that is your third point. And fourth point, that is hybrid working, because it is yet to be settled. So, Sahil, what is your take on this? How do you anticipate the talent acquisition trends for 2025?
Ramesh, thank you so much for having me on your show. Nice to be with Janani as well. I think this chemistry is working brilliantly, coming together, the three of us. I think Janani has covered everything, and that's the disadvantage of going second. But I'll try and put it slightly differently. I think three major trends that I'm going to see, and I would love to see more of in 2025. The first is talent, the second is technology, and the third is transformation. Let me start with transformation. I think for the longest time, we have been seeing hiring that has been happening based on knowledge. How much do you know? If you're looking at early talent, do you know what is Henry Fayol's 14 principles of management? Do you know 4 Ps, 8 Ps, 16 Ps, whatever in marketing, so on and so forth? We were assessing knowledge. Of course, we've seen and we've done an episode on this on SightsIn Plus, which is on skill-based hiring. What I would definitely like to see as a transformation is more and more organizations, more and more industries moving from knowledge-based hiring to skill-based hiring as trend number one. Trend number two on talent, I think we have seen talent as a very linear, as a very focused way to say we have FTEs, which is full-time employees, or we have part-time employees, or we have gig workers, or we have talent that comes from subcontractors, or we have talent in terms of advisors who have superannuated and come in. Can we really create a marketplace of talent as talent acquisition professionals? Which means I put out a role, it goes out everywhere. It's not that I have a preferred vendor or a partner who I send across and they give and then I lose time or so on and so forth. It is like, think of this, right? A large brand CEO goes out and says, I want to hire a chief of staff and gets 20,000 plus applications. In people sending a 60-minute video and 200 words of why they should be the chief of staff of this large food chain, right? So therefore, talent will have to be looked at not just as someone who comes in as a full-time role, but can I have the supply and the demand gap significantly reducing to say, if I get a mandate today, can I close the position in 48 hours, 72 hours? Because time is of essence, because billing happens the moment you get a project and you have to get people on the ground. Point number three, we spoke about talent, we spoke about transformation. I think technology has been center stage for the last 3, 4 years, all thanks to COVID. But I still feel that that was more of a knee-jerk reaction. Whether you had people working across 7 continents and you could leverage talent now because you had interviews that you could do virtually, or the other way out, where it is extremely important to understand that it is not just about connecting with people 7 seats. It is about using technology across what I call as the supply chain of talent acquisition. So if you look at this like an interface, from the time I apply, whether it is on LinkedIn through Easy Apply or it is on your website, till the time I join the organization, which is where talent acquisition plays a role. At every single point, am I integrating technology, whether it is the first email that goes out, whether it is an acknowledgement of a CV, whether it is the first interview, whether it's the feedback, whether it's HR round, technical round, shortlisting, screening, what have you, including integrating BGV into the entire process so that at the click of a button, if there is a referral, if there is a candidate, I can build a certain level of transparency, not just for the candidate to know, but the hiring manager to know, but the head of the department to know of how many candidates or how many open positions are there. Today, all of this is already there, but it is fragmented. Can I have a one-click system by talent acquisition, by leveraging technology, foreseeing this as a trend. I would love to see more of this in 2025 and beyond, Romesh.
Wonderful, Sahil. Three talent acquisition trends for 2025: talent, technology, and transformation. Okay, so coming to the technology part now. So, as Janani has suggested as well, that we can see the more uses of technology, more uses of generative AI in 2025, and also the same for the skill-based hiring. We can see the more skill-based hiring in 2025. There are a couple of reports also which are also mandating, which are also suggesting that we can see the higher use of technology, higher use of artificial intelligence, and skill-based hiring in 2025. Coming to technology now, how do you see the AI and automation is going to transform this whole talent acquisition strategies in 2025?
If I look at how AI and technology has been impacting talent acquisition, especially even in HR, if you double click on talent acquisition, I think this area has got impacted quite a bit and has been fast changing. Before 24, maybe just at the onset of AI and chat GPT, I think it started impacting and people started saying, okay, I think there are possibilities. And maybe it even started late in 2023 saying, okay, we can redo job descriptions using chat GPT. It started that simple. To this past year, I think the experimentation has gone all out. To okay, why is this particular role not getting filled? What's particularly missing? I think I, as a recruiter, is able to see that the candidate that I have shortlisted actually have the required skill, but then the hiring manager is not seeing it. What's the gap? Okay, it's just the language difference, and that how are people able to find out through AI? And then they go, it's just the terminology difference, and therefore they're able to get shortlists and then selections too, right? So I think this past year has been a lot of experimentation. The coming year is going to be stabilization for me in AI, using AI and other varieties of technologies as well, Romesh, because it's like we are just going all over the place and we are trying many things, but we need to identify these are areas where we will do and we will practice and we will master, right? I think that's going to be the phase in 25 and then 26 and beyond too. 26 and beyond will be again one more round of experimentation, because right now, if you see last few years, we are all learning on the go. We are trying to use all of these and then we are strengthening. So if you look at my view on how this whole technology piece is panning out, I would give like a 4R formula, right? Relook, reimagine, rebuild, recreate. Now, this can be a talent acquisition role itself, or it can also be the recruiter's role, because a lot of our work is getting taken by technology. A lot of recruiters' work also is going to the hiring manager by virtue of their ownership becoming much more. Then recruiter's role is also getting completely reimagined. I'm sure we will talk more about it, but then technology is making it happen and elevating the overall ability of a recruiter to operate at a very different level. So that's really my take on the use of AI and technology and how it's going to impact us in 25.
No, definitely. Experimentation to get settled down with the AI, new technology, maybe generative AI, and there have been a lot of biases in recruitment as well, which has been reported. Inaccuracies that maybe, as you also highlighted with a particular example. Sahil, what is your take on this? How do you see in 2025 with the
Sure.
technology and especially AI
Romesh, come to
automation?
think of this, right? Look at AI. AI is an enabler for the candidate, and AI is an enabler for the hiring manager. Today, the hiring manager is going to a GPT or an open AI and saying, hey, give me some questions that I can ask, or what are the most innovative questions, or what's the most trending thing that I can evaluate. And a candidate is also going onto the same platform asking for answers. So therefore, if the candidate is smart, the hiring manager is equally smart. And therefore, what I call as AI is a great leveler or an enabler for both parties. The question that we need to ask ourselves is then, what is the differentiator? The clear differentiator is the art and the science of talent acquisition. And you will realize that a lot of people who are seasoned talent acquisition professionals spend a lot of time not on the question, but on the answer. Because ChatGPT or any other open AI source can give you a lot of questions and can also give you a lot of answers. But what AI can't do, at least so far, because we don't have bots also sitting with us conducting interviews, is picking up the response. And the response that you pick up is not just what is said, but also what is not said. The response that you pick up is, how is Janani reacting to my provocative question versus is Janani smart enough to realize, oh, Sahil's trying to conduct a stress interview and therefore I don't need to get stressed out. Calm down, Janani, right? Or is Romesh sitting out there and saying, this interviewer is being very condescending in his approach and therefore is trying to show how much he knows and not evaluating how much I know. And therefore, in his mind, Romesh is also deciding, as a candidate, should I even sit through the rest of this interview or should I say, hey, you know what? I don't think this is going to work out for both of us. Thank you for your time and I would like to leave. Now, you may say, Sahil, what you're saying is so esoteric because people need jobs and everybody's sitting out there. But let me tell you, the kind of Gen Zs and Gen Alphas that I interact with so regularly, I have heard so many stories from them where they actually come back halfway into a discussion and say, Sahil, thanks for all your mentorship. You guided me. I reached out to you how to conduct this interview. But in that interview, I felt if this guy is going to be my boss, I don't even want to work for that organization, right? And when they go onto various systems and platforms and put that out there, now look how the machine is learning. So if someone's had a bad experience, they've gone into Glassdoor, they've gone into platforms, they've gone and put it there on open chat, on Rexit, and then the machine is picking that up. So the next time you type, give me the feedback of the last 100 people that gave an interview in X company, Gen AI is picking that up. And then is where smart candidates are saying, hey, you know what? Now I have technology helping me out to decide whether I want to go for an interview. If yes, what are the kind of questions? Once I have the questions, what's the kind of response for what kind of interviewer? And I think it won't be long ago where we can actually, while organizations and interviewers do reference checks on candidates, candidates so long informally used to call up people and get reference checks, there will be a technology and AI that will enable a short bio saying, okay, you're giving an interview with Romesh. These are 15 lines. This is his style of questioning. This is the way he goes evaluating you. And these are the red flags you need to be careful of as a candidate. I'm waiting for that day because then it's going to be a level playing field between a candidate and an interviewee and an interviewer, Romesh. These are some of my thoughts.
You have highlighted very important point. You are directly hitting on the skills of the talent acquisition professionals, and with the new updates. Maybe that is the technology, that may be the artificial intelligence, and that may be the new workforce as well. So we are talking about 2025, around 25% of the workforce that is going to be of Gen Zs. So you are going to hire Gen Zs as well. You are going to use the excessive use of technology. That may be there may be some pros and cons of that, but excessive use of technology, new workforce, and apart from this, skill-based hiring, that is another challenge. How the talent acquisition professionals need to be trained? They need to be sharpen their skills for this 2025. What is your take on this?
I think three things very important, right? One, many a times we realize that people don't talk to people, but systems also don't talk to systems. And therefore, how do we build a talent acquisition function that if a particular recruiter has interviewed B candidate, it should not matter whether A recruiter leaves the organization. It should not matter whether S recruiter interviews candidate B after 2 years. The system should have all details. Many a times we tell people, hey, you know what? We will blacklist this candidate because this candidate did A, B, C. Question number one, did your ego get hurt as a recruiter and therefore you're blacklisting the candidate? Did the candidate do something which was absolutely incorrect on ethical, moral grounds because of which you're blacklisting the candidate? And therefore, all I'm saying is talent acquisition professionals should have technology that helps them take sound decisions. Because today there are very arbitrary decisions. Someone may have been blacklisted 2 years back, may give another interview in a sister concern of the same organization or the conglomerate, and one entity does not speak to the other entity. Point number one. Point number two, as an individual talent acquisition professional, where do I need to upskill? I need to upskill on what I call as intuitiveness. Many a times it's very easy to catch the hard facts. Oh, you have a gap in your resume. Oh, you worked in this organization, you did this last project. Let me do a deep dive and ask you questions of how you implemented. Tell me what was your value add. Easy to catch. My question is, if a lot of people are proctored so well, have rehearsed so well, have practiced so well, is your intuition strong enough to know that this person is fapping? If your intuition is not strong enough, can you rely on other scientific methods of evaluation where you cross-question, where you cross-validate to realize the depth of the essence of the answer? Point number two. And point number three, I think categorically talent acquisition professionals need to be in a space where what I call as speed dial recruiting. Many a times after you get a mandate, you get a JD, you float it out, you search for people. You've been in the profession for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Today, if a cardiologist is operating on a patient, the person doesn't need to search the coronary artery. The person knows it in his sleep. Now, my question is, you may say a cardiologist is different from a recruiter. I get it. I get it. But the point I'm still making is, have you built a network? If I had to ask you, I want to hire let's say a Java expert or a C++, or I want to hire, for a very simple example, a forensic person with 5 years experience. And you've been hiring forensic guys for the last 10 years. Don't you have 100 people who you can think of? And if you don't have, that means you're not a rock star in talent acquisition. Now, you may say, I've changed industries, I've done different things, I understand. But if you're in a certain industry for a certain period of time and you don't know people who you can do dial up recruitment, then there is a problem. Just evaluation or just interviewing or just negotiation are not enough skills for the great recruiter. 3 points. Janani, back to you.
Jenny, I would like to add one more point here. As you already highlighted the hybrid work. So the transition from remote to hybrid, I think it is not settled. Still, it is just like, socializing kind of. Sahil, are you also coming in office? Janani, are you also coming in office? Are you also coming in office? So let me also join. So kind of socializing, productivity is not there, but still the preferences for the hybrid work or work from home. How this is also going to be the challenge in 2025. It is going to settle somewhere.
My view is it is going to continue as a challenge in the coming year because some companies went out and said, hey, we will work remote 80% first. And then they're saying we want 80% back right now. So I think organizations are also learning in the last 4 or 5 years. Initially, when organizations saw a spike in productivity and people's ability to work for more number of hours, they felt maybe remote is better. But then what they did not realize is the culture that was created earlier has actually protected us during the first year of COVID. But later, when 30-40% of the organization changed when hiring happened, everything started fizzling out. Right. And I must say that the industry is still scrambling when it comes to aspects related to culture. Now, some companies, I think, have stuck a good deal through hybrid policy because they have found a method that will work for them. I think for the coming year, what could potentially work is, yes, some companies are taking this approach of full remote, let them be. Some companies saying everyone come back to work. I think they will see attrition for sure, especially people who have been working in tier 2 cities or small towns and have changed their family setup in the last few years. companies are going to see them at, right? But this could be a talent pool that will be available for organizations that are looking at complete remote or hybrid. Having said that, if hybrid is going to be the world, and in my view, maybe 60% of the organizations will opt for hybrid only, mostly in the ITES sector or similar sectors, right? And if that's going to be the way, then I think job descriptions have to state aspects related to hybrid and how support will be provided. The purpose of office has to be completely changed and redesigned to make it a creative and cultural collaboration related space versus being at home as working very productively. And in my organization, we are already operating that way in a number of ways, I must say. I mean, therefore, I'm able to relate. Like some people, when I meet them for lunches, dinners, in a group setting, they're saying, "Hey, when we come to office, it's like we're coming only to meet people, and we're not expecting ourselves to be productive because we are at home most of the times, and there are groups that operate that way, right?" So I find that they have found a rhythm. Like some groups, some organizations have found a rhythm. Number three is, I think, organizations should try and find this hub and spoke model across the country if we're working here or across the world as well, but enhance the travel budget a little bit so that they're able to bring in people together every now and then, because again, that connectivity, that culture and aspects related to that can get enhanced. Last but not the least, because we are saying people from different places will work together in a hybrid or a remote environment, their needs are going to become very different. They are different already. We are experiencing that. And then there is this ask of hyper personalization as well. So, how do we make sure we are able to provide all of this to them? So, tech can be a beautiful enabler, like Sahil was pointing out earlier, right? It can give an end to end experience that's hyper personalized, but there can be a human touch from us in a hybrid environment to cater to all of this. So because diversity of talent is also increasing because of opening up our talent landscape, right? So I think that's how it is. Again, in my view, it's going to take another 2 more years for us to completely stabilize this remote, hybrid, and full-time working from office. That's my take, Ramesh. But 25 is an
So,
important year for us.
yeah, we are talking about the hybrid work, we are talking about skill-based hiring, we are talking about a lot of challenges with the technology as well. Now, to attract the talent, how we attract the talent, how the strong should be the EBP, how the employer branding, that should be the strong, how we can attract the talent, that is also very important subject. You can, along with this, if you can also cover this side.
Two things. If your question was about how do you attract talent, I think Romesh, and I think so you read my mind, because I wanted to add to everything that Janani said, that I think experience is very, very important, right? What is your brand doing? Your brand is making a promise, saying you can come and do exciting work here, you will get to work with great leaders, etc., etc. Every organization will have a different brand promise. When a candidate comes to office, do they experience the same thing that they have seen on your website, that they have heard, or not? So that's the validation of the brand promise. You may spend millions of dollars building a great employer brand, all right? But if you spend millions of dollars building a great employer brand and you don't live the brand every single day, it's just going to evaporate, right? What is very important, you may call me old school, but even simple things like when a candidate walks in, are you asking that person for a glass of water, a tea, or a coffee? And when the person leaves, are you dropping that person to the elevator or to the main gate or to your main reception, right? These small things play a massive role in the experience of the candidate. And that is when whatever dollars you invested in on building the employer brand or recruitment marketing actually come to life. Because please understand, we are spending crores of rupees on technology, right? Whether it is interfaces, whether it is assessments, so on and so forth. We have to, from our end, also step up our human level of interaction, our gestures, our emotions in the whole process, so that people don't think that everything is tech-driven. There is also a significant human element. There is a human behind the human who is interviewing another human, irrespective of how many bots you may have, irrespective of what technology you may have.
So, if I try to summarize the whole discussion, we agreed on this that we in 2025 we can see the skill-based hiring, and which has been already in 2024, but we can see more skill-based hiring 2025, more uses of artificial intelligence and the automation in recruitment process, and more the use of AI in candidate experience. I think that is going to be happen in 2025. We are going to settle down somewhere because in 2024 just it was in pilot project with most of the companies, but now it is from experimental stage to now we are going to settle down somewhere with the technology as well. Thank you so much, Sahil and Janani, for joining the conversation and sharing your wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Romesh. Thank you, Janani. Wish both of you a happy new year and an amazing 2025. And all the viewers of SightsIn Plus as well.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much,
much,
Sahil.
Sahil. Wish you very happy new year to both of you. Thank you so much.
Happy New Year to both of you and to all the viewers. Thank you so much.